I'm Betty. I was born January 28, 1922, just north of Roland, 1 mile. My parents were Bert Arnold Arneson, and my mother was Bella Olson, Jareen Olson, and she was from north of town, and he was from south of town. And my mother was going with somebody else, and at Christmas time, no, between Christmas and New Year's, she met my father, Bert Arneson, at some party, and she thought, ooh, I'd like to go home with him. And she had just gotten a watch from this guy. I don't know who he was. But would you believe they really clicked it off and were married 2 months later? No use letting a good guy get away. And so then 5 children were born to this union. And I'm very, very thankful that my parents were Christian people and brought us up in a good home. They really nurtured our lives. And sometimes I thought they were way too strict. In fact, at times, I thought they were Mr. and Mrs. Killjoy. They just didn't let me do some things that other kids got to do. But I really realized after I grew up that they were safeguarding my happiness.
My name is Donald B. Hanson, and I was born in January 18, 1920. I grew up, I was the 4th child in our family, and I had, with only boy, with 7 sisters, 3 older than myself and 4 younger. And it was really a privilege. You know, there's something they said, oh, you must have been really spoiled pretty rotten with the 7 sisters, you know. And I said, no. I said they were so wonderful and so kind to me, and yet I'd done a lot of teasing, I said. I was 5 years old. Both my grandpas had passed away, and my grandmother, one lived to be 100 years old. And so I knew her a lot, but I never had a chance to go on any trips or drives with my grandparents. My mother was really, from that time on, she was really had asthma, and most of her life she had suffered that to her dying day. And that one winter, I suppose I was about 6 years old, and my mother decided to go out to my uncle out in Colorado Springs and see if that weather would help her asthma. And then Dad went out there for 30 days in the winter to be with her.
I started to school here at Roland, and in the 4th grade, my parents moved southwest to Roland. And then I went to Milford School from the 4th grade through the senior class, and I graduated there in 1940. I
attended rural school. I started as a 5-year-old boy and going to school, you know, and we lived just a quarter mile from our country schoolhouse. It was in Marion Township, Hamilton County, District number 6, and it was Pleasant Valley, the name of the school, and it was really a wonderful, beautiful setting, you know. Big shade tree right by the, 2 big shade trees right by the school, and 2 outhouses in the backyard of the schoolyard.
There were only 15 in our class, 3 girls and 12 boys. And of course, one of those girls, Margaret, moved in from one of the southern states during her junior or senior years, so, you know, she was very popular with the boys. But I thought for my junior and senior banquet, I had a date with a very nice young man, and I thought, wow, Margaret, I had a nice date too. And I didn't have a dress, so Frances Holland loaned me her dress, and we went to Ames and attended a movie, and I never had been to a movie. And when I came home, and it was dark, and I came by my folks' bedroom, my folks seemed to be...
Graduation, and my dad always had a hired man, and And when I got through school, we didn't have, there wasn't any bus routes. You had to find your own way to town to go to high school. And so there wasn't any feasible, and Dad needed help, and so I just decided I was going to stay and help Dad farm. And so ever since I was graduated 13 years old, why I was farmed full-time since I was 14.
In fact, I like to pick the row right by the corn, the wagon, and my brothers were out here a little bit farther, and they seemed to not always aim too well to put the ear up in the wagon, and sometimes they would hit me. And so, but I'd get done with my row out to the end, and then I'd hop up in the wagon and have my apple, and apples never tasted so good as when you taste them in a cold winter day.
We farmed 240 acres and rented the Hanson estate farm, and we lived there for all the years. And we the first years I was farming, we had a lot of horses, work horses. We had 10, 12 head of work horses, you know, and lots of about 10, 12 cows, generally milk cows, and then lots of cattle feeding. And then we had hogs, so there was a lot of other chores, and chickens, and we had geese and ducks, and so we had really a variety, you know. I was singing in the choir, and Betty and her folks came from the south of town. They came up to church, you know, and I noticed this girl sitting out there with that big brim hat on, you know, by her folks, and I guess I never thought any more about it, but till we went down to with Bud Waugh down to Ames.
I was working in Montgomery Ward in the men's department, and this young man, Donald Hanson, came in.
And I thought of my folks, how blessed they were, and yet I had a fear in my heart, just like, you know, I wasn't too sure if that was something, you know.
Pretty soon Bessie came down and
after I met Betty, you know, why I never even thought of anything like that. With fear, it was all gone.
In December, he gave me a New Testament with my name on it, Betty Arneson, and then a gold and black Elgin compact that I began to think, wow, this is a pretty special guy. My ears really perked up because I was brought up in a very good home. Well, in January 28th, from my birthday, my 21st birthday, he gave me my diamond. Wow. I was just ready to soar through the ceiling.
Well, it was a warm Easter Sunday.
So Mom, bless her heart, she and Pa planned the nicest wedding, and there were 180 guests. And Carol and Lawrence, my brothers, were the attendants. Also, Betty Jane and Irene. And Pastor Holland married us, and he said, I tied a real good knot. And indeed he did. One night to Des Moines, and we had to get back.
Went out and started plowing around this big field, and I got razzed. The first year, I think I placed something like third.